Hello friends. I'd like to personally invite you to a new class that we're going to be offering here at the Spiritual Life Center of Wichita. This class is called the Great Heresies. I'm excited about this class because studying heresies is a great way, number one, to understand our faith and the history of our church better, but also I think it's a chance to test ourselves to see if we perhaps have been believing some of these heresies that have been rejected by the church. I find that by examining very carefully the nature of these heresies, a lot of times tendencies jumps out to us, tendencies that maybe we've been influenced by in an unknown way. And so this class is really going to take a historical and a theological look at some of the major heresies of our church. And so when I say historically, we're going to look at what was happening in the church at the time of these heresies, what immediately preceded these heresies, and what was the aftermath of these heretical movements. We're going to look theologically, what were the major problems with the theology presented by these heresies, and why was that theology so detrimental to the faith, and why was it so important? Some of these major heresies, we might say, what was all the fuss about? Why was this such a big deal in the church? Well, when we see what the genuine malfunctions of these theological propositions were, it makes it much easier to understand the ramifications of these heresies. And so we're not going to be able to talk about every heresy in church history, but we're going to look at what I think are the major ones and the ones that really developed a continuous thread throughout church history. And so we're going to start with the Gnostic heresy. And we're going to really look at the Gnostic heresy as the one that, at least in my opinion, sets the stage for every heresy that follows. And really you can identify bits of Gnosticism in, I think, every major heresy that came after that. So we'll look at Gnosticism first. Then we're going to look at perhaps the most famous heresy of Arianism. And we're going to really look at what did Arius teach, and why did that become such a problem for the church, and what was the legacy of the Arian heresy. And we're going to see that just like with Gnosticism, Arianism had very long-lasting effects. Then we will look at the heresy of Islam. We're going to look at the movement started by Muhammad and compare it to Catholic tradition, and we're going to see why it was so attractive to his followers and why it continues to be such a force in the world today. And we're going to try to clear up some of the myths about Islam. What does it teach, and what does that have to do with the church today? We're going to look at the Albigensian heresy. And in relation to the Albigensian heresy, a little bit about the Spanish Inquisition and how the church responded to this heresy that again was rooted in Gnosticism. We will also look at, in a very detailed way, at the Protestant Revolution. And we're going to try to get a fuller picture of what did the Reformers do, why did they do it, and how did the church respond to that. And furthermore, how did those heretical teachings get a foothold, especially in American society. And then finally, we're going to address the most recent heresy of modernism. The modernist heresy, again, being kind of a blanket term to describe this tendency of the post-Enlightenment world to turn against the faith altogether. And so the modernist heresy is kind of the last great heresy that we have to fight against. It's a heresy that doesn't just try to change one part of church teaching. This is really a heresy that tries to undo all of church teaching, so it's a very dangerous one. So I invite you to join me in this 6-part course. It starts on August the 19th at 7 p.m. here at the Spiritual Life Center. You can register by calling the Retreat Center here at 744-0167 or by looking at our website, slcwichita.org. So I hope to see you here to go through this journey studying the Great Heresies. I'm Dusty Gates.